Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information comes from the smart device application On This Day. The music in the background is Heroes by RetroVision, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds, aka NCS. For links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Now let's get on with the show, shall we? Today is Woden's Day, aka Wednesday, October 19th, 2016. In 2005, Hurricane Wilma became the most intense Atlantic hurricane on record with a minimum pressure of 882 MB. Also in 2005, Saddam Hussein went on trial in Baghdad for crimes against humanity. In 2003, Mother Teresa was beatified by Pope John Paul II. In 2001, CF-10, an Indonesian fishing boat which was carrying over 4,000 asylum seekers en route to Christmas Island, sunk in international waters, causing the deaths of 353 people. In 1989, the convictions of the Guildford Four were quashed by the Court of Appeal of England and Wales. Unfortunately, they had already spent 15 years in prison. In 1988, the British government imposed a broadcasting ban on television and radio interviews with members of Sinn Féin and 11 Irish Republican and Ulster Loyalist paramilitary groups. In 1987, the United States Navy conducted Operation Nimble Archer, which was an attack on 2 Iranian oil platforms in the Persian Gulf. In 1986, Samora Machel, whom was the president of Mozambique, as well as a prominent leader of the Mozambique Liberation Front, aka Frelimo, died alongside 33 others when their Tupolev Tu-134 plane crashed into the Libombo Mountains. In 1974, Niue became a self-governing colony of New Zealand. In 1969, Bahi Lad Gaham, the first Prime Minister of Tunisia in 12 years, was appointed by President Habib Bourguiba. In 1960, during the Cold War, the government of the US imposed a near-total trade embargo against Cuba. In 1956, the Soviet Union and Japan signed a joint declaration officially ending the state of war between the two countries that had existed since August of 1945. In 1950, Iran became the first country to accept technical assistance from the United States under the Point 4 program. Also in 1950, the People's Republic of China joined the Korean War by sending thousands of troops across the Yalu River to fight United Nations forces. Also in 1950, the People's Liberation Army took control of the town of Chembo. This event is often called the Invasion of Tibet. In 1944, during World War II, U.S. forces landed in the Philippines. In 1943, streptomycin, the first antibiotic remedy for tuberculosis, was isolated by researchers at Rutgers University. Also in 1943, the cargo vessel Sinfra was attacked by Allied aircraft at Soda Bay, Crete, and sunk. 2,098 Italian prisoners of war drowned with it. In 1935, the League of Nations placed economic sanctions on fascist Italy for its invasion of Ethiopia. In 1933, Germany withdrew from the League of Nations. In 1921, Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Granjo and other politicians were murdered in a Lisbon coup. In 1912, Italy took possession of Tripoli, Libya, and the Ottoman Empire. In 1900, Max Planck discovered the law of black body radiation, which is also known as Planck's law. In 1866, in Venice, annexation of Veneto and Mantua to Italy occurred at Hotel Europa, in which Austria handed Veneto over to France, who then handed it immediately over to Italy. In 1822, in Parnaíba, Simplicio Dias da Silva, João Candido de Deus e Silva, and Domingos Dias declared the independent state of Piauí. In 1813, the Battle of Leipzig concluded, resulting in one of Napoleon Bonaparte's worst defeats. Speaking of Napoleon Bonaparte and being defeated, in 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte retreated from Moscow. In 1789, John Jay was sworn in as the first Chief Justice of the United States. In 1781, at Yorktown, Virginia, representatives of British Commander Lord Cornwallis handed over Cornwallis's sword and formally surrendered to George Washington and the Comte de Rochambeau. And in 1386, the Universitat Heidelberg held its first lecture, thus making it now the oldest German university. Verse, Trey Parker, 1969. And that concludes the show. Once again, you can check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. Don't forget to look right and left, and you can also rate 5 thumbs and subscribe if you do so wish. For your dose of past events daily, I am Aeoxander, and you are you. Toodles!